Once upon a time, there was a magical forest filled with all sorts of mystical creatures. Unicorns galloped through the trees, their pearlescent horns glinting in the dappled sunlight. Fairies fluttered from flower to flower, their gossamer wings shimmering with pixie dust. In a mossy glen beneath an ancient oak tree, a family of elves was busy at work, carefully crafting ornate bows and arrows. This was the Enchanted Forest, a place where magic lived in every tree and stream. For centuries, the animals had lived together in harmony. But over time, they had grown apart and now mostly kept to themselves. The unicorns stayed in their pearl-laden meadows, not venturing far beyond their realm. The fairies played tricks on the elves, tying their shoelaces together when they weren't looking. And the elves set traps near the fairies' mushroom circles, hoping to catch the pesky pranksters. One sunny morning, Dilia the unicorn was out for a canter through the forest, her white coat gleaming like fresh snow. As she entered a sunny grove, she spotted a group of fairies floating near a babbling brook. "Good day," Dilia called in a friendly voice, giving a little bow. The fairies jumped in surprise, then fluttered behind a tree, peering out at the unicorn nervously. Dilia felt confused. "Why do they hide from me?" she wondered. "I only wanted to say hello." Saddened, she turned and continued on her way. Before long, she came across an elf sitting on a stump, practicing his archery. Taking a deep breath, Dilia tried again. "Hello there. It's a fine day for archery practice." The elf scrambled to his feet, yelling, "Unicorn! Watch out!" He scurried away into the brush before Dilia could say another word. The unicorn's head drooped. Why was every creature in the forest afraid of her? Had she done something wrong? With a heavy heart, Dilia made her way back home, hoping to find answers. When she arrived at the Pearl Meadow, Dilia spotted her mother Iris sprawled out on a grassy knoll. "Mother, why won't the fairies or elves talk to me?" she cried. "They run and hide whenever I approach." Iris sat up, concern in her violet eyes. "Oh, my child, it's not your fault. The creatures of the forest have grown distrustful over time. We unicorns used to frolic with the fairies and visit the elves in their workshops. But harsh words were spoken, and gradually we drifted apart." Dilia scuffed her hoof in the dirt. "I wish things could go back to the way they were. I want the forest to be united again." Iris gave her a loving nuzzle. "Don't lose hope, my darling. Maybe there's a way to bring the magic back." Dilia nodded slowly. If anyone could find a way to unite the forest, she could. The next morning, Dilia set out, determined to make friends with the other creatures. She headed first to the fairy circle, where the smell of fresh berries filled the air. The fairies were just sitting down to breakfast. Dilia took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Good morning. I'm Dilia. Would you mind if I joined you?" The fairies froze, their spoons halfway to their mouths. Then the boldest one, named Lilac, stepped forward. "I suppose that would be all right. Come sit with us." Soon they were chatting and laughing like old friends. Lilac agreed to go with Dilia to meet the elves next. The elf leader, Oakwood, was reluctant at first. But the unicorn's kindness and charm soon won him over. Dilia beamed as she watched the elf and fairy tentatively shake hands. Her plan was working. The reunited forest dwellers decided to hold a grand ball the next evening in Delia's Pearl Meadow. As the sun set, casting a golden glow across the grass, the animals arrived decked in their finest garb. The elves wore rich velvet robes, the fairies' wings sparkled spectacularly, and the unicorns had braided flowers into their manes. Dilia stepped forward and welcomed them all warmly. Soon the meadow was filled with swirling dancers and joyful music. Dilia danced with Lilac while Oakwood played a jaunty tune on his fiddle. Everyone marveled at the scrumptious berry pies the fairies had baked and gasped when the elves set off shimmering firework displays. As Dilia looked out over the celebrating forest creatures, with their former differences set aside, her heart swelled with joy. The road had been long, but at last her dream of uniting the forest had come true. From that night on, the creatures remained the best of friends. They visited each other often and shared food, stories, and songs. Sometimes unicorns gave the fairies rides and the elves made them new jewelry. Dilia and Lilac met every morning to watch the sunrise. As the seasons passed, the bonds of friendship between the creatures grew ever deeper. One spring morning, Dilia was grazing contentedly amidst the budding wildflowers. She looked up to see a family of elves approaching, their arms laden with bundles. "Happy birthday, Dilia," they cried, laying out a delicious picnic feast in her honor. Oakwood presented her with a handcrafted golden bridle. "We wanted to show our gratitude for all you've done," he said with a smile. Delia's eyes misted over with happy tears. She thanked her dear friends warmly. Later, surrounded by the celebrating forest dwellers, Dilia gave thanks for the gift of true friendship. The moral of the story is that differences should never divide us. Like Dilia, we must be willing to take the first step and reach out in kindness. For friendship has a magic all its own, more powerful than any spell, one that can unite the most unlikely of creatures.